As the festive cheer of the holidays fades, the first week of January often marks a return to reality and routine for many. While some may feel relief, for many, this transition can bring financial, emotional and physical challenges. The post-holiday blues are common as people adjust to the demands of work and daily life after an emotionally charged season. By recognizing the symptoms and understanding the triggers, it's possible to recover from or even prevent the seasonal slump. And for more on this, we're now joined by a clinical psychologist, Thato Masia, and she joins us now via our video link. Thato, thank you so much for your time this evening here on SABC News. I mean, for me, I think maybe let's start off here. What is holiday depression and what does it actually even involve?
Hi, thank you for having me. And I think it's a good place to start by defining what post-holiday blues actually are. And generally, the concept of post-holiday blues is this temporary mood shift that many of us experience after the excitement and the high of the holiday season. And given that it's such an abrupt come down from that and going back into regular routines, people might notice changes in their mood, feeling low, feeling quite fatigued and struggling to get back to the general routine.
And, why do people even experience such? I mean, we were on holiday for quite some time. A number of people took their December holiday time off. They were relaxing on holiday with their families. Why do people still experience this?
I mean, it's quite a shift, like we said, from that excitement, connecting with family, having festive meals, and perhaps depending also on traditions and customs that different people follow. It's quite a busy time, which is in contrast to the rest of the year where things are quite set, things are quite predictable. It becomes quite an excitable and very, very busy time. So coming back from that and coming back into the regular mindset can actually lead to feelings of loss. Perhaps feeling loss of freedom. During the holidays, we get to determine our time, our activities, how we're going to use that. Whereas when you come back into regular routine, going back to work, going back to school, there's that loss of that freedom and the feeling of disillusionment that can come with it. And that's more on the psychological side. But even physically, just based on all that energy we're expending during the festive holidays, that post-holiday stress can come from things like overindulging in food, overindulging in alcohol, which we know is quite a common practice in South Africa, lack of sleep, and even just having disrupted routines because the festive season tends to work very differently to the regular schedule throughout the year.
Now, if you've labeled all of these symptoms and I may be experiencing this during this time, how does one deal with it? How do you overcome this very rough patch and, the reality of it all, that it's either you're going back to work or you're going back to school?
I think one of the first things, it's quite important to have a graded exposure back into the workplace, just to try and make that shift feel less abrupt than what it generally tends to. So even if it means allocating a few days that are the remainder of your holiday, allocating that to coming back home, doing laundry, getting ready for school, slowly getting back into that routine so that it's not just jumping in immediately as soon as the holidays have ended. But also I think part of it is having realistic expectations of ourselves. I mean, starting again in the workplace, for example, we can have quite a lot of tasks that we need to attend to, and it's okay that it takes some time to readjust back to that. But also, quite importantly, it's important that we keep our support systems active. We've spent a lot of time together during the festive season. It doesn't have to end there. We can also continue to support one another into that transition back into the regular routine, especially because post-festive season comes with financial ramifications, physical ramifications, going back to the regular routine. So it's quite important that we have support networks. And if we can't reach out for that through our families, then seek that, whether it's through psychological support with a professional, joining community groups and community activities as well.
One aspect you also touched on, and it's usually a big topic among people in January, is the issue around finances. What role does finances play when it comes to holiday blues?
Finances play an incredibly large role in terms of the feelings of guilt, feelings of shame, when we've perhaps overindulged, overspent during the holidays, and now we're trying, or rather struggling, to make ends meet in the following months. That can incredibly weigh on a person, bring down their mood, even disturb their sleep, because now we're dealing with anxiety. How do I make ends meet? How do I patch up because of the overspending? So it's also quite important that as we lead into further festive seasons, festive holidays, we need to consider and plan for these holidays so that we don't leave ourselves with too many stressful factors at the end, but rather we've done our best, whether it be through budgeting, even if it comes to which gatherings perhaps we're going to attend and which ones we will not, just to ensure that we are still financially healthy at the end of the season.
And if maybe you have been experiencing some of these symptoms and of course some of the issues you've laid out when it comes to holiday depression, maybe if you can just give advice to some of our viewers, what can they do almost immediately to give them some sort of relief?
On a more immediate and individual basis, mindfulness techniques are actually quite helpful and actually help to regulate the system and come down from that excitement and that high that was experienced during the holidays. So using our body checks, exercises, seeing where perhaps stress is sitting in the body, breathing through that, and perhaps even pairing that with journaling exercises, journaling what took place over the holidays. Quite often meeting with family can also mean perhaps struggling with unconscious tensions that then come up, because of that increased spent time together as a family. So journal about that, work through and process those feelings, see where you're at and where you would like to go, and take your time as you transition, have that radical acceptance that it is okay that I'm in this position and things will get better. But if we are finding that we are struggling quite a lot, perhaps having suicidal thoughts or feeling quite isolated after coming from such a large sense of community, it's really important then that we seek psychological help where we can. There are many free platforms we can reach out to, like SADAG, Lifeline, if perhaps it's more of a suicidal crisis. There are free channels we can reach out to, as well as our community. It's quite important to get back into the communal space that exists more for the rest of the year or majority of the year. So whether that means church engagement, community activities like community halls, wherever we can involve ourselves to feel that sense of support and connection, it is very important that we rely on those foundational activities just to get back to that sense of self and being able to adjust again to the rest of the year.
And Thato, can individuals prevent holiday blues or holiday depression from taking place? Is it preventable?
To a certain extent, yes, holiday blues are preventable, and this is all ties in with planning. It's very important that we plan, because a lot of the stress and anxiety that comes post-holiday blues tends to come from a lack of planning. Either we've traveled too much and haven't given ourselves time to recover before jumping back into the workplace, before jumping back into school. Perhaps we haven't planned ourselves financially, like earlier mentioned. We didn't budget perhaps what kind of spending we'll do, how much it'll cost, and how we will recover after that. So it goes quite a long way into planning which gatherings will attend, how many gifts can I afford to purchase, all those kinds of things. If we can plan ahead, we can mitigate the stress that we will have afterwards and reduce the anxiety as well that comes with having to deal with things now afterwards when we failed to plan beforehand.
All right, Thato, thank you so much for your time and for giving us those tips, particularly for our viewers when it comes to how they can manage holiday blues or holiday depression. Of course, saying that, to prevent this from occurring later on again at the end of 2025, planning is very important.